here at last. So I'm going to share a story, and of course, there's an agenda behind this story. I was born in Mexico many years ago. I'm not willing to share how long I was born. Yeah, and I was extremely lucky since I was born. I got very loving and very smart parents. My father is sitting right there at the back of the room because he doesn't want me to be more nervous than I am right now. Yeah, and among the many things that I learned from them, two of them are very important for our conversation today. First of all, as the adults in charge, because they were always in charge, they knew that the world was changing, and they felt that their duty was to make myself and my sisters ready for the future. In my home, that meant to have a world-class education and to become bilingual. Yeah, it's because of those decisions that I can be here today, so I'm deeply grateful. The second thing that I learned is that there are very, very few things that matter in life. And for those things, you have to be willing to give a fight. Sometimes it will just be just for you to set your position in a courageous way. And other times, you will need to get actively involved. You will see that I have no issues getting involved when something matters to me. So I went to business school, and I ended working as a corporate banker. Don't ask me why that happened. Yeah. Years later, love, my husband Fernando, and the globalized economy that my father kept talking about when we then went to learn how to speak English, both brought me here. My husband got a job in the United States, and we moved. I brought with me my only son, the center of the universe, Rodrigo, and my active involvement in the US educational system started when I enrolled him in a public school. And he became an English language learner. If you are not an educator, English language learners are students who don't speak English at home. So they go to school every day, and they face the challenge to learn everything in a language that they have not yet mastered. So Rodrigo became one of those kids. Today we have 4.4 children out there that are classified as English language learners. I don't know what happened when we crossed the border. In the other side, Rodrigo was always seen as a very bright, articulate, and polite child, and he loved school. In this side of the border, he was seen in a completely different light. I didn't know how much of a burden it was for Rodrigo. He's funny. Until we went to Mexico for the first time. And when we came back, I was in the kitchen doing something, and then he said, I have been thinking, and when I grow up, I'm going to come and visit you very frequently. I wasn't making much of the conversation until I asked, where are you going to be living, Rodrigo? And then he said, are you kidding me? I'm going back to Mexico as soon as I can live on my own. I don't like school here. And he left. So for me, that was a decisive moment in my life. Yeah, this mattered, and I needed to get involved. So the next week, yes, I'm resourceful, the next week, I was a spy in my son's school. Yeah. I was a very active mother volunteer. It works. And I became so skilled working with teachers that I got hired to be a teacher aide. And as a teacher aide, I learned two things that have changed my professional life forever. The first one, and I'm going to be very politically correct, we have plenty of opportunities of improvement in the education of English learners. Yeah. And we have no excuse. We have been doing this for centuries now. But today, as my father will say, the world has changed. And this is very important. The stakes are higher than ever. The second thing that I learned is that teachers really work very hard, and that being a good teacher for English learner requires a very sophisticated set of skills. They need to know the content, how to teach it in a second language, and how to address the cultural diversity in their classrooms. So I decided that instead of being complaining all the time, I should probably become a teacher myself. I fulfilled the requirements, and I got a teaching job. And yes, I'm making it sound very easy because it actually was very easy to become a teacher. And then you have a contradiction right there. Very difficult job, very easy to get it. Yeah. But yes, what I realized is that we are somehow desperate to get adults with a certification in a classroom. My results were released on a Friday. And the immediate next Saturday, I got 3 calls from principals inviting me to go to an interview. This was the middle of September. And if you have kids school age, the school had already been happening for a month. I didn't know if I wanted to go to the interview. Because as for my father, bilingualism was, the most important thing for us. For me, is math and science. I'm a STEM person. So even when I went to a very high-quality teacher preparation program, I never learned how to teach math and science. And I didn't want to end being one of those horrible teachers that I had when I was a kid, and I still remember. But I still went. I was very curious. And in the third school that I visited, I was technically ambushed. This very cute little girl with a personality bigger than life. Her name is Lupita Limon. She stood up, and she looked at me, and then she gave me a card. It was a piece of paper folded in half, and inside it had a heart that said, "Gracias por ser nuestra maestra." Thank you for being our teacher. So I looked at the principal, and I said, "What is this?" And then she started laughing, and she said, "Oh, my God, Lupita. She made many of those. She's giving them away. They really need a teacher." Yeah. So thanks to Lupita Limon, I worked for 4 years in schools, let's say, in very challenging zip codes. But I love my job. I love the kids. I deeply respect the parents. They do care for their children's education. And I love my colleagues. I hated not to know how to do my job. All my concerns about not knowing how to teach mathematics were real. Yes, I used to be a banker, but that didn't mean that I could teach subtraction to a second grader. It was rocket science for me, and of course, rocket science for the kids. So I left the classroom looking for help. It couldn't be just myself, we're teaching here. We should know how to do this. So I went outside, and what I found shocked me. Most of the teachers were feeling frustrated. Again, it's very difficult to teach English language learners. Those who knew how to teach math didn't know how to teach it in a second language to these students. Those teachers who knew how to work with these students or were bilingual like me didn't know how to teach math. So it didn't matter where these kids ended. They were going to receive an education that didn't address their needs. And then later, we will be talking about them, very surprised because they don't graduate, half of them don't graduate high school, or because they don't become engineers, or because we have an achievement gap for decades now. But if you think about it, we're somehow setting them for failure. So this mattered even more. And I decided to go back to school. But it was a financial burden. If you have been in grad school, you know that. So I applied for a scholarship. And this is my favorite part of the story, where I met people who represents the best of this country is all about. I became a Miramontes fellow. Who was Ofelia Miramontes? She was an extraordinary woman who was a very talented educator and started making history early in her life, establishing many bilingual programs. She was also a first-generation college student who became a tenure professor in CU Boulder. Most of all, she was a charismatic, powerful leader who really wanted to improve the chances of minority and first-generation students. This woman was also changing my life now. I was going to be a Miramontes fellowship. I couldn't meet her because she left us young after a very courageous fight against breast cancer. But I learned more about her and about her extraordinary love story when I attended my first Miramontes meeting. And I met my sponsors, her husband, Dr. Bill Barkley, and his wife, Connie Hume Barkley, who wanted to honor her and continue her work forever by allowing people like me who had similar dreams to go back to school and to continue working on Ophelia's work. So I'm here today to invite you because I'm inspired more than ever, and I get inspired every single year that I attend the meeting because they bring people who have been impacted by Ophelia in different ways. They bring friends, they bring colleagues, and they bring students. I have my meeting on May 11th. So I'm ready to get recharged. And today, I want to invite you to get involved. If you have time, become a volunteer. If you have friends in important places or you have influence, let's make sure that we enable the children to get their American dream. And if you have money, support an educator. This is a gift that keeps on giving. This gift that I received, the biggest that I will receive in my life, impact my life, the life of my family, and hopefully the life of all the people that I get in touch. There are 4.4 million kids out there, and they need us. They are not other people's children. They are our children. Most of them are American citizens, and they are here to stay. They are the future of our American workforce. And please, when you leave today, think about it. 4.4 million reasons to care. I think that is more than enough. Thank you very much, and get involved.